Hey guys, Dan here.
Hey, and Frank, and today we have a special guest. You've heard us talk about it before on the channel, and we've been sharing it on Twitter. Sector 7, we have Matt Boyce of Sector 7, the writer. Why don't you introduce yourself, Matt?
Yeah, I am Matt. I created the concept for Sector 7. Gosh, probably 20 years ago ish, maybe 21, and yeah, it's just now kind of coming to fruition with myself and my partner, the artist Ron Moscicki, and we've kind of written the story or fleshed out the story together, but I, of course, I write all the dialogue and he does all the art and um, you know, I name the characters and we go over story points together and it's a cool relationship that we have.
Yeah, I mean, we from the get-go when we just saw the initial art and the heard the initial description of the story, it's a post-nuclear, post-apocalyptic style world.
Yeah, but it's not dystopian. At least, in fact, it's more utopian. At least at first. Although you'll see some recycled tech and things like that. Ron's done an amazing job, kind of bringing that stuff to life, and that was really part of his vision for it was like seeing those really old cars kind of brought back to life and made new again.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. But yeah, it kind of takes place in humanity's in a good spot when our story begins, or so we think.
Yeah, I mean, from reading the description and seeing the art, like the concept art for all those like cool vehicles, I was like, oh my god, this looks awesome.
Yeah, it's like it's I get like diesel punkish vibes, 60s ish, 50s ish sci-fi movies. Uh, I know we've seen a lot of the kaiju designs that you put out. We got a lot of names, but who is the female here that's like we've seen all over the comic? Is she like a princess? Is she one of our main characters? What is she?
So she's kind of like Ron did an amazing job. She looks great. Her name's Tetra Primrose. Actually, is what we named her, and she was actually one of the first characters I created for this, probably close to 15 years ago.
Wow.
So she's been around a long time, and she's kind of like a prodigy of sorts. She's a brilliant young lady. She was working on some scientific things with her father, but has found herself now in the employ of one of our other characters. She kind of like went under the radar for a bit. Her father passed away in an accident. She quit working, and now she's got this new opportunity, and she kind of finds herself in kind of swept up into this situation a little bit randomly, or so we think. So.
Oh wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. And like, yeah, no, from just like descriptions that we've read for the kaiju, we know like the main one is Nagara.
Yeah.
Nagara.
Yeah,
He
Nagara. Yeah.
he was from like a experiment, and he kind of got put away because they couldn't control him. And then the other ones sort of just started appearing. Were they also experiments?
Yeah. So our really there's our story takes place, or it's mostly it begins really like the setup sort of starts. Let me rephrase. So the backstory, there's three different sections. There's the now where our story is actually starting from, and then the first point is that nuclear holocaust essentially. I always like to say the Cold War suddenly became very, very hot, and specifically during the US moon landing. Apparently Russia kind of took that personally, and there's some words exchanged, and 3,500 nukes or so were launched all over the world. Everyone just kind of hit that kill switch. And what's happened is in the aftermath, a lot of the world is not inhabitable anymore. It's too radioactive, absolutely decimated. there's about 7-ish colonies that have been set up, where probably at the time, I don't have my numbers in front of me because I actually looked up like what the population of the world was and that, because I'm very OCD about those things. So I wanted to make sure my numbers were good, but there's probably about 500 million people left at this point. And that's kind of where, and now we're a few decades after that, humanity's kind of rebuilt itself. There's all this fantastic new technology. And that's kind of where we're at. To get to where the monsters come from, you have to go back to World War II. And that's kind of when there was some experimenting going on with genetics and things of that nature. And Nagara was originally, the plan for him was to develop a new breed of super soldier. And this went horribly wrong or horribly right, depending on your perspective. And, and Nagara was kind of born out of that, but they weren't really able to, get control of him in a way that made sense to use them. So he's been kind of tucked away in a storage facility. They regrouped, said, hey, we can still use this. And they built a second facility, much, much larger. And they started creating these other kaijus, and some of them are augmented, but they had built into them, into their DNA, the ability to kind of have this sort of control over them, at least to some extent. They're still sentient beings, but kind of like the Hulk says in the Avengers, they kind of aim the monsters more or less.
You really got like big backstory built up behind this. I mean, I know you've said this is almost like a childhood idea that you've brought fully to fruition now, which is it's just incredible that it's just all the years that you've already put into this, the deep story already. I'm really just absolutely looking forward to it. And I know you had mentioned earlier, is it going to be 4 issues, 40 pages each or something like that?
Yeah, our plan for the last one is that it's going to be a double-sized issue.
Oh wow!
And it would hopefully, provided we get that far, it's going to be an 80-page issue.
Wow.
We've even talked about maybe making it a large format book, so you can really just see, because it's such a visual medium. We love playing with the kaiju and the scenes and everything, and we just think it would be super cool to have this large, like I've seen actually I have one. They have a Superman versus Wonder Woman, and it's like this giant comic. It's like physically just really big, and I always loved it because it's so big and it's so immersive. So we were thinking, like, how could we do this in a way that's different and just really cool and would look awesome on someone's shelf.
That would be that sounds really cool. So the 4th issue would basically almost be, since it's a double, it'd almost be like an issue 4 and 5 packed into one, which is basically really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, because nowadays that's like the new thing. I don't know when it started. I was kind of out of comic books for a couple of years when I started like working full time. I kind of like lost track, and I just got back into them again a few years ago. But all of a sudden, when I came back, like I felt like everything all of a sudden was like 5 issues, 5 issues, 5 issues. Now it's like the norm. It's like 5 issues. We take a break, and then we come back. And it's really cool though. It works out perfectly. You get a story. We get a beginning, middle, and end to the story, and sometimes it leads to a new story. Sometimes it doesn't. But
sure,
I'm really digging this though. I mean, like I said, you guys put a lot of great work into it. Ron's art looks incredible. I mean, we're just like, it's just mind-blowing the detail that is going into each of these pages that I've seen, like on like the Kickstarter, on the Indiegogo page that you had. Now you're on Fund My Comics. Is there going to be what's the time for the launch? I mean, I don't know. By the time this video is up, it might be. I think when it try to get this
it's going to be a pretty quick edit for me, so I should have it up
or tomorrow. Yeah, so we're going to try to get it up on launch day, this video. What around?
Well, so it's coming up quick. Ron is working on it literally as we speak. So we're actually planning to launch on Wednesday. So Wednesday on Fund My Comic, a lower goal than we had last time. just kind of we're kind of new to this whole scene. And just to speak to your point about the 5 issues, like, you know, if I had it my way, I'd probably make it, you know, 10 or 12 issues, you know, if I really wanted to do that. But the nature of the indie comic world doesn't really, we're both, you know, dads, we both work full-time jobs, and just like a lot of comics are only putting out like 1, maybe 2, you know, or 2 books a year.
Yeah, especially
so we don't want people to have to wait 5 years, 6 years to get a complete story.
Absolutely.
We want to be able to finish that in a way that people will get the whole story and won't have to stick around forever. And then we'll just move on to the next arc. We've kind of envisioned each arc as its own like little movie experience.
That's the perfect way to do it. Absolutely. Yep. That's the way to do it.
So yeah, Ron's working on the campaign now. Launch day is Wednesday. We're our goal is significantly lower. Right now we're working at black and white, and then we'll have color pages as a stretch goal, because we will have to hire a colorist in order to do that. And we kind of factored, like I said, a lot of that stuff into the first campaign. We've trimmed a lot of that stuff out. I think our ambition kind of scared folks off the first time around, possibly. And there's also the fact that we started this. We really didn't. I've talked to other guys who've ran campaigns, and they've put 8 months or 10 months into promoting and getting kind of the hype building for it. We didn't do that. We jumped like right in, and now we've had some opportunities to get out there and kind of get seen. We've definitely got some eyes on us, but it's one of those things where now we're going to be hopefully counting on the Kaiju community to come out and enforce and really get behind this.
No, I mean, I when Frankie first sent this to me, I was just in love with the art and the style of it. It felt very old, the way the art style is. Was that an intentional choice to make it kind of look like an older comic book as opposed to something new? Or Ron, I wish you were here, because he could probably speak to that. To me, I think there is some like older vibes to it. And I think that was just a product of one, we're both 80s kids. Like we kind of grew up on some of those older looking comics and things like that. So we love the visuals. And then, you know, being the nature of you know, the genre of like kind of kaiju, we're kind of looking for that kind of classic feel to it. And I know Ron and I both agree, we really wanted to create characters that that really people would care about. Like so often when we read a Godzilla or another kaiju comic, like you're just kind of turning pages until you get to the monsters, right? And it's all very monster driven, and the characters are just kind of there if they're even really doing much of anything at all. And some of the best Godzilla stories I've read really didn't have a whole lot of human characters in it. But we really wanted to create a story that was really fun for people to read about the humans. They were invested in the human characters, and then you also get these really awesome kaiju battles. Because I don't know, as a kaiju fan, that's what I always want. Like, you know, I was kind of disappointed with Godzilla versus Kong in that regard. Like they had some cool maybe characters that had potential that they never really fleshed out.
Yeah, it's they weren't like, you know, 2014 complete focus, and then they're like, nope, all monsters. They haven't found like a good balance yet. And then King of the Monsters, I felt like had a good balance. It still wasn't perfect, but then when it came to Godzilla vs. Kong, it was just like, forget the human characters. Really,
I feel like they kind of made Kong one of the human characters in that movie.
Yeah, honestly,
It was. I don't know.
He did seem like the main character too.
Yeah, it really is.
When you say it, put it that way.
And actually, I just had this conversation, I think, with Jacob Lingle from Kaiju United, but. Yeah, I'll never forgive that 2014. That 2014 set up Bryan Cranston's character as your emotional anchor in that film, and it was brilliant, and it was
going so well, and then they just killed him off, and I will never ever understand.
I was
why.
like, I remember being in the theater when that happened, and I'm like, oh man, they killed the Breaking Bad guy. I'm like, so many people that were Breaking Bad fans came here to see this movie because of him, and he's just like, boom, like he was. He didn't even make it like 15 minutes into the movie.
I think he was really, actually. I think it was a little bit longer. I thought it was close, and maybe I'm misremembering, but
that opening went so quick. I felt like
I know, but like it was so good. Like
it was, yeah. He's
if
fantastic.
They would have been able to keep that emotional, like just kind of I don't know how to describe it. I was completely enchanted by what was happening on the screen, and I hadn't seen Godzilla yet.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden it was gone, and you replaced it with his stoic son, who was, I mean, I think it was just the way the script was written, but he was terribly boring.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I sat there and I go, why didn't, like, kill him? That's fine. If you want Bryan Cranston's character to die, that's fine. But leave it to the end. Like have it be an emotional sacrifice with his son, so then you can cash in on everything you built with him in the beginning. Like that.
Yeah.
It was such an epic
film.
He really was. He was phenomenal in it. And then
I feel like they were like, we have to try to squeeze in this kaiju fight at the end, but like they didn't want to show you the kaiju fight. They wanted you to imagine the kaiju fight.
Yes. and that's the thing. People always complained about Godzilla's screen time, and and then other folks are like, well, that's not a valid argument because other movies had similar amounts of screen time for Godzilla. It's like, yes, but they actually showed you the monsters without cutting away or, covering them in complete darkness. Like that was the key. Like there really wasn't a satisfying shot of Godzilla until the action was pretty much over.
I was in college when that movie came out, and I was like, I didn't have time to watch it, so I missed it. And then I heard the Blu-ray was terrible. So I waited until they came out with the 4K, which was like, I think 2020. I waited until they had a good home release for me to actually watch that movie. Because I was like, I'm not going to watch it if it's unwatchable at home.
Yeah, it was really rough. And I still, like I said, it just mind-boggling. Why I have such an issue with that movie is not because it's a bad movie. It's a solid Godzilla film. It's just, it was like this close from being amazing. And with a couple of tweaks, it would have been fantastic.
Oh, it really would have been. I mean, I feel like the scene when he has the kid on the train in Hawaii, I felt like that was like super suspenseful. Like you're really invested in that kid. And then it's just like kind of like, oh, they made it through the night. And they reunited the kid with his parents, and that was it. And it was like, that was the emotional part, and they just got rid of it. The same thing with killing off Bryan Cranston. Whenever you got invested in a character, they got rid of him.
Well, I totally forgot about that, but you're right. Like keeping the kid with him, that would have worked. If you, they kept killing all the emotional weight of it. Like, I'm sitting there going, by the end, I'm just like, oh wait.
Yeah, but at least Sector 7 is going to have good characters that we're invested in.
I know. I'm sorry.
No. We're here to chit chat.
That's what we're here to
talk about. But like, I mean, it's like that's kind of one of the more.
We're a kaiju show. We talk about kaiju.
I mean, that's kind of like one of my pet peeves. I always say, like, the kaiju fan base is one of the most fickle fan bases because they're either, oh, this movie's too talky with the human characters. There's not enough kaiju. I don't like it. Or they're like, this was all, I want my kaiju media to be like thespian and have higher meaning, and but they don't want to listen to the human characters. They just want it to have all
it's hard to please everyone, that's for sure. I think when I was imagining this, I kind of went to, when I was younger, and I promise I won't get on another tangent, but I used to be a really huge Star Wars fan. And I just love each character, like, they all had their own purpose. And it was just wonderful, like, watching those movies growing up. And you just felt, Darth Vader was just so cool to watch, right? and you just wanted like, you know, it wasn't until he started complaining about sand that like he kind of lost a little bit of that mystique about him. So we really wanted to bring something where you had characters that you were just really invested with. They were cool characters. You wanted to know more about them. You wanted to know what made them tick.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really good to have like a good backstory behind people, because if you don't know what people's motivations are, it's kind of just like, I'm trying to think of like what was the movie that I was just completely ragging on? Oh, I think it was Gorgo, where it was just like the human characters were just so empty. Like
yes.
you just want all. I was just like, these are all terrible people. I don't care if they all die at the end of the movie. Like
they literally every single person. That was one of our first. I think that was one of our first video reviews. We did like 2 or 3 episodes where we just did audio, and then we started doing the video. And I think Gorgo was one of the first ones, and we were cracking up about, because I hadn't watched that movie in like years. So I'm like, let's watch Gorgo. I remember it being a really good movie. We had like the old VHS. We'd watch it all the time. And it was the black and white one too. And I was like, let's watch it. So we watched it. And I'm like, every single human being in this movie is terrible. Even the little kid, he gets fostered by this guy and then just abandons him. And then the guy gets killed. He doesn't care. Everybody, like, it was like every single person in that movie was terrible.
Yeah, very, very cardboard characters in that movie. Still one of my favorites, just because of the monster.
Oh,
absolutely. I often will watch the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode where they watch Gorgo. That is
fantastic. I didn't know there was one.
Yes.
I gotta look out for that one.
It's an old episode. It was from the Sci-Fi Channel years. I believe it's season 10, but if you haven't yet, check it out. It's very funny. I like it a lot.
Yeah. We're massive Gorgo fans, despite how terrible the people are in that movie.
Yeah, I think the monster and the lore, at least, are pretty solid in that movie.
Yes.
And the suit.
Absolutely. I always said that if I ever win like I never play the lotto, but you always hear about it when it reaches like $1 billion.
Yeah.
Like if I ever won one of those, I would go and buy like Gorgo and like some of the other like kind of misfit kaiju that came out in that era, and I would just buy the rights to them and start make my own MonsterVerse.
Yeah. No, that's I think that's what Titan Creations is trying to do right now, actually, with the Gorgo, because they're kind of hinting that they're trying to pick up the Rhedosaurus too. I don't know. We'll see with that. But yeah, I mean, there's just been so many. What other kaiju movies, since we're on movies, what other kaiju movies have inspired you? We know Godzilla, of course, is a big one. Any other ones out there that were some of your favorites?
Yeah, so the one that probably inspired me, my favorite one to this day, I don't think it's the best cinematically. I still think that's the original, but Godzilla versus Biollante was probably the most influential on me. I still just absolutely adore that movie. Gamera 3, still really fantastic. Those are probably 2 of the bigger ones. Pacific Rim was a game changer for me. I really love that movie, and I can get kind of down into like some really obscure stuff. I tend to pride myself on having a very diverse collection, but I love Gamera versus Guiron, and not that that's too obscure. At least
that's honestly one of my favorites too.
Yeah, I just love that movie. Trying to think of what else. There's a show called Giant Armor Mikazuki, which it's really goofy, but I love it. Like this giant mech fights off the first episode's like a watermelon kaiju. It's great. It's fantastic. I will make sure you get a link. It's all on YouTube. It's about 5 episodes. They're about, I think, 40 minutes each, but I could be misremembering. I love it all, from the really old cheesy stuff to the new, and I don't know, I just I never grew out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. I just had a time period where, it was just like transitioning from just being a kid every day in school to college to working, and then there was like some period between there where I kind of fell off a little, and then like back in college when I was like finally like, all right, I'm doing a little less work and focusing more on school. I have a little more time to myself. I started slowly getting back into it. I had like a time period in high school where I kind of fell out of like touch with it. Like I wasn't keeping up with it. I still was into it, but yeah, I've always been, since we've been kids, the two of us. I mean, we both grew up with it. It's always been something we've been into, and we try to stay with it.
Yeah. Have you guys ever seen like the X from Outer Space with Guilala and stuff?
Yeah,
I haven't watched that one yet.
I love those.
Oh,
I own it, and I just haven't sat down.
Yes, that one's definitely worth watching. We should even do an episode on it.
Probably good.
We if you do, I'd love to join you. That'd be fantastic.
No, yeah, that would be fun. We should do that. We gotta definitely put that one in. We want to try to do some summer movies this year. So we got we both just watched The Meg, so we're gonna be covering that. And we figured it'd be great since the second movie's coming out, and then I think we're gonna do Ibra Horror of the Deep as well. Because last year we did 3 summer movies, kind of. We were like, oh, let's do like a beachy theme.
Yeah, no, that's one of my favorites too. I guess that is one of my favorites of the Showa era. Like, I love the beginning, like, and that one, like the human plot was fun. Like I had fun watching that movie.
Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely it's such a fun. That's another one that like we grew up. We had the VHS. It's probably still on the VHS, or he might even have
it's actually on my desk.
When I was growing up, let's see, this would have been how, if you don't mind, how old are what decade were you born in?
I'm at 89. He's 93. So
okay, I'm 85. So we're right in that range then. All right, cool. I just have such fond memories of hunting department stores.
Oh my god!
Every time, because a lot of folks nowadays, anything I want, I just type it into the Google search and it's in front of me.
Yeah.
And but back then I had no idea how many Godzilla movies there even were.
Yeah.
No.
And then I just every time I was hunting, that's how I found Gorgo. I saw it on a movie shelf.
I mean, the Heisei Gamera stuff, honestly, we didn't see until like the 2000s, and even like Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, that we had like a bootleg copy of, but we were probably like, it was still probably late 90s, and it had been out for probably 5-6 years at least, and it was so hard to find those movies. I mean, we would do the same thing every time we'd go to like a mall. We'd check whatever Coconuts or whatever weird video stores they had back then, record stores. We'd be upstate, going to Ames.
There's a lot of sci-fi.
Ames, yes.
A lot of sci-fi
Ames.
Memorial Day marathons.
Ames was one. I had 2 nearby.
Yeah. Well, I know you're upstate, so when we used to go upstate, that always used to be up there as Ames. So you're what we call upstate. I mean, right?
Right.
For you,
we call it Western New York over here. We're Western. Upstate's like the Adirondacks.
For us, anything past Yonkers is upstate.
Basically, yeah. Anytime once we're over a bridge, it's upstate.
That's to you guys. Yep. Yeah. We refer to ourselves as Western New Yorkers over here. But whenever you say you're from, New York, it's always like, oh yeah, New York City. No, we're like,
we're Long Island guys. We're the same thing too. We're like, we're close to it, but no.
Yeah, Long Island, the place where you're one train ride away from the city, but you will never go there.
Yeah. So oddly enough, I've never actually I've driven by New York City, like I've seen it at a distance, never actually been. Lived here all my life and never actually been to Boston and some other, been to Houston or New Orleans, never been to New York City. I'll have to make that trip one day.
There's no rush.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's kind of like us, like we're everyone drives out to Montauk. That's the big thing. We've lived here for, I'd say, most of our life. We used to live in Queens, which is close to the city. Never been near Montauk in my entire life.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it's crazy though, like just how available things are. Even like comics though. That's one of the things why we like funding comics like this, because when we were growing up, we didn't have this. Like there wasn't Kaiju comics. The videos were hard to come by. It was just like
I didn't even know like Dark Horse existed or anything to even know that there was like a Gamera comic book or a Godzilla comic book at the time. It was like
I was probably a young teen when I found out about those, but we had a comic shop in town, and that's how I found out. I still have that issue. I think it's Godzilla versus Bertanus or something like that on the cover, and he's like stomping this other monster. But that was like my only exposure, I think, to the Dark Horse stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's just why we have to support things like this though now, because we need more Kaiju content. I mean, yeah, it's flowing through now. We have the Monsterverse. We have Toho's making another movie this year. I mean, there's all these different mediums now. What's that one that Apple picked up, that book, Project Nemesis? Supposedly they're working on a series or movie for that. It's been quiet.
But even those books are pretty hard to find.
Just cool.
To get the actual books.
Actually, Project Nemesis is funny. I actually originally this was called Project 7, and when Project Nemesis beat us to the punch, and that our own fault. Like this has been a couple decades in the making, but I was like, oh, I don't want to name it Project like after there's already a Kaiju book out there by the same name. So we ended up changing the name a little bit, and we landed on Sector 7, and just because it kind of ties into like the origin of where the monster comes from and stuff like that. So we went with that instead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where did the name come from? Because Sector 7 like one of those like regions that are habitable? Is it like a lab?
So it's going to be essentially, it would have been the lab where he was originally, where Nagara specifically was created. So, and we've kind of kept some things close to the vest a little bit, just to, we don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah.
And that,
I don't want you to give away too much. Yeah.
But yeah, I think people will be really pleased with how it all comes together and how the monsters are kind of revealed and things like that. I think the storyline's really, really solid. I think it's a lot of fun. I think people will be really intrigued if we can make this happen. So,
and I'm curious. You don't need, like I said, I know you don't want. I don't want you to reveal too much. But is there good and bad monsters in this? Is Nagara going to be like a good guy? Is he his own thing? Does he have his own agenda?
Yeah, we sort of yes, good and bad in a sense, at least. Nagara is we kind of revealed in the trailer. Nagara is kind of on our side. How that happens, you'll have to wait and see a little bit. But yeah, Nagara is going to be it's going to be 1v6 essentially. So Nagara's kind of got to run a gauntlet to his own destroy all monsters type scenario.
All right, that's cool. Isn't that's almost like the I think, isn't the Gamera series 1v6 too that they come out?
Is it 5?
Or is it 1v5? Nagara's got to do one more. Yeah, it might be 1v5. That's still that's so cool though. I mean,
yeah, I'm excited. A couple of the monsters should be, well, provided there's a second arc. We're going to keep some of the other kaiju around and stuff like that. I hope people fall in love with them. I really I think we've created some really cool looking monsters.
Oh, definitely.
Man,
they're ones that I'd want to watch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they all are really cool. I was rereading all the profiles that you'd put up along the way as you revealed them, and I was like, all these sound so good. I'm like, they're just like so like like there's like really a lot of work into each one of these monsters about what they're about and their origins and everything. So we're really excited for this, and I'm really hoping everyone else gets excited for it.
I hope so too. I think we're fighting some algorithms on Facebook a little bit.
It's always the same thing, even with some of our shorts. I'm like, one day, one will get like 900 views in like a minute, and I'm like, that was nothing. I'm like, it shouldn't have got anything. And then the thing that we think is going to hit, and it just sits there and does nothing. And I'm like, there's some sort of algorithm up there.
Yeah.
Right. And we've tried to advertise a little bit. But hopefully people just I think the best thing is people that will like and follow the page. We're at Inside Sector 7 on Facebook and on Twitter. We've pretty much used that as kind of like our little catch-all title for social media, Inside Sector 7. And,
we'll link you down below.
Oh, yeah, links can be down below.
Awesome. So if people will give us a like, follow, share, please, like all those things, anything to get Facebook to start getting us in front of more people. Because a good indie comic, like I know someone who just got funded, they did fantastic numbers. They passed $10,000. They've got 300 people behind them, which you think, when I think of all the millions of Giant Monster fans, there's got to be like there's got to be out there. And maybe if you're talking hardcore folks, there's only in the thousands of us that really get into the nitty gritty of it. But like that's a fraction of a fraction. So I have to believe if we just get it in front of those folks, that people are going to be like, yeah, I want this. Like this is cool.
Yeah. There needs to be. Yeah, it's about the exposure for sure. I mean, we're going to be sharing you like crazy on all our Twitter accounts, my account, the Mazer Squad account, and we'll be sharing you Facebook. I mean, we can't wait. When we get behind a project like this, we become annoying. We'll spam we'll be like, follow this.
Do you guys know Paul from AGE Comics? He just did Fall of Man.
Yeah, we just reviewed it.
Yeah.
Okay,
we haven't got to talk.
I got it right here.
Talk to him.
Nice.
I think we were trying to during the first one of his comics, and then just life with the both of us. I just had she's turning 1 soon. I had a kid in June, and then we took a little break. Congrats, I think that's when. Thank you. And then I think that's around the time his campaign was running, around last June.
I think it was because I was out. I had a kid, and my house was under construction, and I wasn't in my house for like 5 months, so we weren't able to do shows.
Yeah. We had a couple of breaks in the last year.
Absolutely.
So he was supposed to fall during one of those, and we were just like, I'm sorry, it just can't happen.
Yeah, no, totally.
It's just life happens.
But we're doing a cross promotional piece of artwork where Nagara, our main star, is going to be fighting one of his kaiju.
Cool.
I'll tease that a little bit here. This is so far top secret information. No one's seen it yet, but we're going to be doing some cross promotion with him. I'm just really excited. I don't know if you guys, I've posted in a couple of places, but I've got a little bit of tweaking left to do. But are you guys familiar with the Trendmasters line of Godzilla toys?
Yeah, I'm in there. I saw your card.
I'm working. I'm going to be creating a line of trading cards as like a stretch goal, and we're going to have our own version of those kind of. To me, they were just iconic. Like those toys were my childhood. I love those cards. And we're gonna put out a set of our monsters with those old Trendmasters frames.
Yeah, that Trendmasters group put me on like a bender when I joined that. I was like, I need to reunite my collection. I still have a good portion of my toys from growing up. But then there's somewhere I'm like, that one broke. I lost the wing, so I've been picking up some along the line here and there.
Yeah, I've got to really get a room available as my family has grown. Like the room for the toys has shrunk, and so I've got my desk kind of just covered with Godzilla and Kaiju stuff right now, and some other. In fact, I see the new the Playmates Baragon, which is actually a really nice figure for the price. Like
they stepped it up, Playmates.
Yeah. Oh, those first figures. Did you see those when they first came out?
I can't believe those got approved, the first ones.
I'll be honest, they're kind of endearing to me now. Like, I'm just like, these are so bad. They're wonderful. Like, I almost want to, like, Island of Misfit Toys them. Like, okay, you can come home with me.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing. But, yeah, I've got my, in fact, I can see my Trendmasters Guiron from here. And yeah, he's loose. He and I think he's missing the front part to his blade. He had like a little piece that shot off or something like that. But it's one of my favorites. He's next to a couple other Guirons I have. I just love that Kaiju. He was so goofy.
Me too. Yeah.
So I always wanted to see him and Gigan team up.
Yes. Exactly. I loved those Camera Show era movies, and like I say, Guiron, Gigan, the two blade guys, you know, perfect.
Yep. That would be my kind of my dream to if Gamera and Godzilla ever crossed over, I'd want to see those two Kaiju kind of team up, because I just think it would be just really neat to see those guys together.
Kind of fun to get an artist that can commission that.
Yeah,
that would be a cool commission.
Absolutely. I maybe once things slow down for Ron, I'll have him do it. We actually have another piece of artwork we're going to be showing off soon. It's done by another good friend of mine. He's not really in the business or anything. He kind of does it more as a hobby, but ridiculously talented. I don't want to say too much because I want everyone to just see it and smile, because I think they're just gonna be like, wow, that's an amazing piece of art. It's a little funny, a little tongue in cheek, but features Nagara, and we're gonna be using that to promote some of our new stuff. Awesome. And or for our new campaign, I mean, and hopefully everyone loves it as much as we do. But maybe I'll ask my friend Trevor if he'll do some artwork of those two.
Yeah.
So speaking of the campaign, what do some of the tiers look like for this? I know you said Ron's working on it right now. Do you know, is there like are you gonna have like any add-ons? Because I know when you did the indie, you mentioned stickers. Are you gonna have like those as like add-ons? Is that a stretch goal? Are those still in play?
Yeah, the stickers are definitely still in play. I gotta touch base with Ron and see how he's handling those. We may have the stickers be add-ons. I'm hoping the trading cards. I'm thinking the trading cards will be like a stretch goal reward, or we may even have like a poster option. We may just make them all add-ons and see how things go. We're gonna have a digital version this time.
Awesome.
Last time we went into it, and I forget the reasoning behind it, but we're gonna have a lower tier, for just the digital version of the comic, so people we want everyone to be able to access this. Yeah. That's the most important thing. And because really, if we at the end of the day, if it makes a ton of money, we're probably just going to roll it into the next one anyway. But I just really want to create something that to give back to the Kaiju community, because I just love Kaiju like fandom. Like I think it's great. So
I think for the most part it's really a great fandom, and we appreciate all the work you're doing on this. I mean, we hear sometimes that there's negativity in the community. I've not seen it much. I guess it's just the circles that we tend to run in. It's all great. I mean, everyone's super friendly. Like I said, the Trendmasters group is absolutely fantastic. and just a lot of the artists and everyone on Twitter. I mean, it's I think it really is a fantastic community.
Yeah, for the most part, I do think it is. I remember years ago there would sometimes be some drama in the forums. I don't know if you guys remember, Kaiju File. I mention them pretty much every time I talk about the fandom. Those guys running that old message board, like I have so many fond memories of that message board. Toho Kingdom.
Oh, Toho Kingdom
was another
I
one.
spent hours on that website, just like looking at all the articles.
I still kind of occasionally I'll deep dive into
I still when I was doing research on the Mark Saraceni books, they're the one that had the interview.
Yes.
About the lost book.
Yep.
No,
yeah. And that's actually another. I still have most of my Mark Saraceni books from back then, and a couple Scott Cienson.
They had very similar last names. Yeah, they were both like
he's actually have two right here.
I think and just like just so many fond memories of those message boards back in the day, and you'd get some. And I remember I was probably a teen, and you'd get into debates with people and stuff like that. And every once in a while I get heated, but for the most part, I mean, I think most people are pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool community for the most part. Like you said, I have not encountered anybody.
I think
bad yet.
Like,
knock on wood.
Just a handful of people. Like,
That's
but
good.
For the most part, like on our the Mazer Squad timeline, it's a pretty good timeline on there. Everybody on there super like everybody's connected with each other, sharing each other's stuff. Like everyone's like, oh, look at this thing this person made. It's like really, it's a really good, if you can curate it, like it's a really good community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I love it, and I love being a part of it. I think that's the thing is like I love being a part of it so much. I think it started actually back, and I've told this story a couple of times, back when I was on those Kaiju File message boards. Someone had asked me, they had a particular forum there, and it was kind of like this it was almost like a round robin type of storytelling where each person would kind of throw in this part of the story and build off of it from the last person, and it was all Godzilla, and it turned into like a fan fiction kind of thing. And I love Godzilla as much as the next guy, but when I was thinking about it, and I was like, I'm going to be putting a bunch of time into doing something really creative, and actually one of my I don't know if you guys are familiar with Daigoro versus Red Moon, and that one of I took some inspiration from that, and totally like it was, when I say inspiration, like I took it in a totally different direction, but I was working on this idea for this fanfic, and then I'm like, why? I'm like, I'm going to spend all this time doing it for something that will never live beyond here.
Yeah.
It can't, because of copyright and all those things. So I just decided, I'm like, well, what if I made my own sandbox to play in? And that's how this kind of happened. And now I've got a few different sandboxes, but we're working on one at a time.
Yeah.
All right. That's awesome. I mean, that's crazy. So that's where it all starts. It's something simple as that. Just writing some fan fiction. Next thing you know, you're like, you know what? I'm going to do my own story. Exactly, because it's never going to come to fruition until you do it yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where these guys all came from. Not the Daigoro versus Red Moon thing, although I'd still love to revisit that inspiration one day, but Nagara was kind of my stand-in for Godzilla. And actually, years ago, I just reacquired, just recently over the past couple of months, an old domain name that I had from 2007, which was kaijutopia.com. And I can actually go in the Wayback Machine on archive.org and see some of the old stuff we had posted. It never really became what I had envisioned it would. We did have message boards, and it was really in its infancy, but I was a new father, and I ran into some financial trouble and just was the timing was bad. Ended up losing the domain, and squatters sat on it for 15 years. I finally decided to shoot them and offer and reacquire the name, which I was successful in doing so. So we're going to be trying to, we're talking now, like, what is that going to look like? How are we going to differentiate ourselves? What niche can we fill with that? But we will hopefully be relaunching that as well. But you can actually see some early, kind of like early concepts of Nagara on there, even from all the way, back in 2007. And I have some saved to the computer, so sometime we'll have to do origins of Nagara. Ron's really done an amazing job of making him unique, but yeah, the early days of Nagara's infancy I think are still pretty cool.
Oh, I mean, yeah, like I said, we can't wait to get into it. And we'll be there Wednesday, ready to back this as soon as it goes live. Are you guys going to do it? Do you know when the launch will be? Is it at night? Is it going to be sometime during the day, or you haven't figured out the hours yet? I know a lot of times it's like down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah, that's a good question. Ron's been kind of thankfully managing a lot of that side of things. Which he's been really awesome. He, like I said, we both work full time. I'm also a full time master's student. I'm almost.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'll be finished in August. So I'm a full time teacher, full time student, and full time single parent. So
oh boy,
I've got my work cut out for me. Yeah. But yeah, so I'll touch base with him tonight. I would imagine it's going to be sometime in the evening, but I'll double check with him. We're hoping to kind of jump on a show on Twitter and kind of have a little launch party again, but we'll see how that all plays out.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, we'll be there. We'll be waiting.
Awesome.
For sure.
We appreciate it so much.
And thank you for coming on. I don't know, Dan, did you have any more questions or anything?
No. I'm pretty excited for it. I'm gonna obviously back a physical edition, but I'm a huge digital comics guy, so I'm happy you're gonna have at least an exclusive for those people too. For me, it's just I can't bring a book to work. Like, it's just so much easier for me to bring an iPad to work.
Right. Yep, and we recognize that too. And then the other thing was understanding now, like, just how much, because our thing, we're kind of old school, so we like physical media. So, but just understanding like how much though, getting that. All right, well, maybe someone's not gonna back at $20 for a physical book or whatnot, but they'll back at $10 for a digital copy or something like that. To where we can kind of get those algorithms going where we get some momentum and get that ball rolling, and we're getting in front of more eyes. It's kind of the idea. And of course, just like you said, being convenient, like, having that option for everyone, where, oh, look, I can now have this on my iPad and I can, not worry about creasing the cover or things like that.
Yeah, no. I'm always guilty of, especially with these crowdfunded comics, I always try to wait to get the physical copy, and Dan's always like, I read it already. I'm like, oh,
yeah, like for me, like half the time these physical copies are like trophies.
Yep. I agree, and I'm kind of the same way. We kind of mentioned earlier. We were kind of talking about the Dark Horse stuff.
Yeah.
And I've got them bagged, and it's like, yeah, I don't actually like take them out and read them. Like I've got the digital versions.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of I'm in the same boat. So we get it, and we were kind of new and trying to figure all these things out as we were going along, and we've learned a thing or two ourselves. So
yeah. I always take a physical with me, and then I do the digital on the reread. That's.
Yep. No, I totally get it. We're right there with you, but I can't thank you guys enough for having me on.
I am glad we got you.
We can do it again sometime, and even kind of
absent of the whole, Sector 7 project, if you guys just want to shoot the breeze over some kaiju movies or games,
definitely,
absolutely,
I'm down anytime.
Yeah, that sounds great. Cool. Yeah, especially maybe if you watch the X one day, we could do a show on that.
You know what we should do? We should all get together like this, have our face. I don't know. We'd have to get a green screen or something. We should have all of our heads down at the bottom. We should make fun of it. Mystery Science.
We'll do Mystery Science. Yeah. Yeah, and I got it now that I know there's a Gorgo one. I'm gonna look out for that too because I
absolutely. I think it's on YouTube, in fact,
right.
or Tubi, so you can watch either place for free. So go hit that up.
Thank you. And once again, guys, everyone follow Sector 7 on Twitter, Inside Sector 7. We'll be linking it down below. And thanks for joining us once again, Matt. And we wish you luck. And we'll be there.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Thanks, guys.
Great time. All right. Bye.
All right.
Night.
Good night.